What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video I've got another league racing video for you guys. This time it is the final round for PSGL for me at Zandvoort, for reasons I will explain at the end of the video. But if you do enjoy this video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get straight into this one. So you can see we're already on a lap. I'm going into this one. I actually wasn't really that confident because I didn't know what everyone's pace was around Zandvoort. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes to the game with the performance patch and handling patch since the last time I raced at Zandvoort, so I wasn't exactly sure about the pace. So going into it, I was less confident. But as soon as we actually got into the session, I just started to get more and more confident as the session went on. This is our bank lap right now, which I don't know if I showed you, but we did go purple in the first sector, I do believe. And then in the second sector, we also went purple, and then finishing off the lap, we did get the fastest lap at the time with a 10.0. My PB going into this one was a 9.6, so I expected a lot more out of myself from that. But as we move on to the final lap now, you can see we did improve our lap previously to a 9.9, and I again knew that there was still quite a bit of time in that lap. So going into this last one, I was ready to basically just send it and try and gain as much time as possible. So let's see how we do on this lap. So going into the first corner braking, just after the whiteboard at the top there between the 150, keeping it in third just so that you can get around the corner nicely. And then for this corner, just basically just throwing in the car, and then turn 3, I believe, or turn 4. Again, you know, just like the previous lap, which I don't know if I showed you guys, but we could have taken a way better line there, and we did gain a little bit of time, which was not too bad, but there was still quite a lot of time there. I would say maybe even half a tenth, maybe a tenth in that corner. But either way, we're trying to again just send it through these corners. This corner I royally mess up. I mean, we went super wide, we went so far away from the apex, and that actually ruined our run throughout this little mini section here. Again, that's another like half attempt to attempt I've probably lost in those couple of corners. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of time in this, and you can see we're still going purple, but going into this corner, I just mess it up a little bit, and we lose all the time that we had gained there. We were purple at the time, but I do believe that this lap, even if we had finished it with the time that we had gained, it wouldn't have ended up being pole, just because the people behind us did end up improving just a little bit. So yeah, sadly we didn't end up improving, and we stayed in P4. Actually, no, I believe Dovzan actually improved his time to a 9.6. So yeah, that was pole position time. Whereas for us, we finished with a 9.9, and we are in 4th place with our new teammate, who was a reserve at the time, finishing in P9 with a 10.0, I believe, or something like that. So moving on to the race now, we've got 5 red lights for this Grand Prix at Zandvoort, and lights out and away we go. And this strategy is, at first I thought it was going to be a softer hards. Everything that I had looked at before suggested a softer the hards, but then I remembered this is league racing. You don't need to go based on what the AI was doing. So yeah, the actual strategy for this is a soft to medium if you want to be quick at the front of the grid. I do believe you can pit around about lap 11, between lap 11 and lap 14, I believe, if you want to do the medium run and not lose too much time to the guys ahead. But yeah, speaking of losing times to the guys ahead, we didn't actually get a great start in this race. We lost the position very early on to Jane, and because of that, I had to now try and focus on getting that position back rather than focusing on potentially making up a position on Danny in front of us. So yeah, not a great start, but either way, right now we just need to start focusing on the race at hand. You know, there's a lot of laps in this race, and we just want to try and just make sure that we stick into a train, because Zandvoort is DRS train heaven, even more so than a lot of the other tracks on this game. So you really want to stick within the DRS if you have a chance of winning this race. And that's what I was aiming for going into it, because I did realize during qualifying that we did have the pace. And now moving on to lap 5, just saving up ERS at this point. You can see we're in the train has started now that DRS is open, and yeah, we're just staying in it. We do get a really weird warning there. I was surprised by that warning, and it kind of threw me off for a couple of corners, but we managed to keep it together and just focus again on sticking within this train and planning a move on Jane at some point, because I feel as if we were quicker than Jane at the time, and we were saving quite a lot of ERS. So as long as I was able to just use it at the right time, I would be able to make a decent move onto Jane and actually gain that position back and focus on maybe overtaking Danny as well. And that's exactly what ends up happening on lap 11. I'm still in the train. I believe we're in the same order. I don't think anything's changed in those 6 laps. However, there is one thing that changes, and that's at the final corner. Jane makes a little bit of a mistake there, and we get a better run through there, and I decide to just spam all of my ERS, use the slipstream, and just try and get in on the inside. If I can get on the inside, then we can make the move, and that's exactly what we did. Now, moving on to lap 12, we make the move on the inside, and go a little bit wide. Could have sticked a little bit closer to the curbs there, and because of that, Jane does decide to try and go for a switchback. But luckily for me, he backed out of it because we didn't really want to lose too much time to Danny at this point. If we did, then we're out of the DRS train and we're pretty much screwed in terms of under and overcuts. But luckily, he did back out, and Zandvoort's not really a place where you can overtake much, except for like the first couple of corners maybe. But yeah, now that we're on lap 12, just focusing on trying to catch back up to Danny, which we do very, very quickly, which just reassured me that we did have quite a lot of pace around here that we can use to advantage, especially during that second stint. And nobody's pit yet in the top 5. I don't know if anyone was planning on going on for an undercut. I don't even know what the exact lap was. I'm guessing it was lap 12 due to the fact that Danny ends up pitting right about now and actually pulling the trigger on the front runners when it comes to pitting. But I was planning personally on going to like lap 14, maybe even lap 15. Luckily that Danny actually did that, because if he didn't, then I feel as if I would have went a bit too long on the soft tires and we would have lost a little bit of time. But speaking of losing time, once again, going into this corner, we do hit the apex, but then we just wash wide because the tires are really worn at this point and they're really hot, and because of that we lose a lot of time in this sector. I believe we were about 7 tenths behind Raven before that mistake, and then afterwards we were pretty much like 1.6 seconds behind that, and because of that we end up losing a position not only to Danny for the undercut, but we also lose a position to Bogdan, and now we have to focus again on overtaking someone that we shouldn't really need to overtake at this point in the race. But it is what it is. We are a second behind Bogdan. I need to really spam my ERS and try and get back into the ERS at this point, or else we're going to lose a lot of time. If you guys see my career mode video at Silverstone, you would have known how easy it is to lose a lot of time once you're outside of the DRS zone. Luckily for us, we did have the pace, we did have a lot of ERS in spare, and we were able to get back into the DRS by the time that the lap finished. We're now only 5 tenths behind Bogdan, and now it's all about planning a move on him, trying to get past him, and focusing once again for the second time in the race on passing Danny. But yeah, at this point, just focus, get the lap times in, and make sure that I put Bogdan under pressure. If he makes one little mistake, we need to be able to be close enough to actually pounce on that mistake. And so far, I'd say we're not doing too bad. We do make a little bit of a mistake there, but we were able to sort of recover from that very quickly by just shifting down just that extra gear than I usually would going into that corner. I feel as if we had stayed in 5th through that corner, we'd have just lost a lot of time there. So luckily I made that quick snap decision to shift down to 4th and sort of recover that mistake. But moving on to lap 17 now. Again, we've been following Bogdan this whole time. He made a mistake at the final corner. He doesn't actually have any more ERS, so he's been using quite a lot of it. We have a lot of ERS to use, so we use it and we go down the inside. This time, learning from our mistake from Jane and sticking closer to the apex so that we could actually defend the position going through to turns 3 or 2 or 3. I'm not actually sure what corner numbers these are, so let me know in the comment section down below what corner numbers those are, because I get so confused when it comes to corner numbers at this track. But moving on, lap 18, lap 19 now, we've actually managed to catch back up to Danny Cole. We're sort of within that sort of 8 to 7 tenths range, so I knew that the DRS would be able to just help me gain more time, just get a little bit closer to him, since he doesn't actually have DRS on Dozan, who is currently net P1. So right now we are looking to make the move on Danny for a net P2, which would be very good in this race, considering we started in P4, and before this race I didn't even think we had a lot of pace. So a P2 would have been a very, very happy result for me. Obviously we could also go for the win, but again, I'm happy with P2 at this point. I'm moving on to lap 22. It did take us a while to actually catch up to Danny Cole and actually get in a position where we can overtake him with DRS. I think his straight line speed was pretty good. I'm not sure what wings he was using for this race, but yeah, he had a lot of straight line speed, and we just wasn't able to overtake him with DRS alone. We needed to use just a little bit more ERS so that we can stick closer to him for that final corner. We finally make the move, and now we're in P2, and yeah, at this point I was trying to catch up to Zoltan, but what can I say? We were pretty much equal pace. You can see on lap 24, we were about 1.3 seconds, lap 25, about 1.6, lap 28, we've gone down to about 1.3, 1.2, then we move on to lap 30, it's about 1.3, so yeah, we were pretty much just stuck in an equal battle. We were losing a little bit of time sometimes, we were gaining a little bit of time. Till lap 33, we make a little bit of a mistake there and lose some time. However, Jack Clark was out of the session, he retired, and that caused a safety car. Now, I was thinking, I'm going to do whatever Dozan does. If he stays out, I will have stayed out. If he goes into the pits, I'm going to go into the pits, and that's exactly what he does. He goes into the pits, and we go for fresh sauce for these last 2 laps of the race, and you may notice that actually some of the people decided to stay out. Jane decided to stay out, and I believe some of the guys who were on the mediums and pit onto the softs decided to stay out. But now we're in P5, and I was kind of thinking we made a little bit of a mistake here, but I see the safety car is about to restart, and I was feeling a little bit nervous before this one, because if you watched my videos back in August of 2021, you will know how bad Zandvoort is for safety car restart. Holy fuck. Green flag. So yeah, I was trying not to think too much about that safety car restart, just so that we can focus on this one and try and not bottle it. But we tried to make a little bit of a good start here, try and make a sneaky little move. But Dozan, he didn't react as quickly, and because of that, it did kind of put us in a more vulnerable position. And as we break on the inside with Danny Cole around the outside, we end up going quite slow, and that's because Jane, I'm not sure what happened to him. I don't know if he got pushed around or something. He is on the mediums, and he is quite slow right here, so yeah, he's pretty much getting manhandled, and because of that, we lost a couple of the positions as well. I was a little bit annoyed at this point, because I actually thought that the softs was the wrong thing to do here, just because of all the positions we had just lost, but it's clear based on what happened to Jane that being on the softs was the right decision. But these last couple of laps is pretty insane, so let's commentate over this and see what happens here. So coming into this corner, I was thinking about going for the dive bomb, but against my better judgment, I decided not to. Didn't want to get any wing damage. I wanted to be aggressive but sensible at the same time, so we decided not to go for that one. And if you take a look here, Dozan and Danny Cole ends up colliding, and they're pretty much no longer a threat to us now. I do believe Danny ends up retiring. I don't think Dozan does. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that's them out of the equation. We're now back up to P4, and all I need to do to get my P2 back is somehow on this final lap get past Bogdan and Kevin. So yeah, I was looking for any opportunity that I could think of to try and get past these two. We do get a pretty good run. We are using a lot of our ERS as well, and yeah, I was thinking maybe we could go around the outside. Hopefully Kevin gets a bit more momentum than Bogdan. Sadly, he didn't, and because of that, we wasn't really able to go around the outside. But I tried to use the fact that they were battling to my advantage to just try and sneak on the inside of the Alpha here. But again, Kevin doesn't really get much momentum out of that corner, and because of that, we have to stay in P4 and relinquish that chance to Bogdan. But moving on to this corner now, you'll see that I don't know what happened to Kevin there, but he just went into Bogdan, and now we're in P2 with just a single person ahead of us, and it was Peso who's ahead of us, and he didn't actually pit, which means his softs are a lot more worse than mine. But one thing I didn't know is that he also had damage, which is another reason why he was slow. Not sure if we would have still won this race if he didn't have damage. He might have had a bigger gap for this, but yeah, I've just spoiled it for you guys. We do end up winning this race here, because going into the final corners now, you can see I'm right on the back of Peso, and we break at a normal position. A little bit of a touch there, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. And now we're coming up at the final corner, and we use all our ERS. He no longer has ERS. We use the slipstream, and by 24 thousandths of a second, sorry, I don't know why I had to think about that. By 24 thousandths of a second, we end up winning the Zandvoort GP. Now, I just mentioned that we had a little bit of a bump with Peso there, and that's actually what caused the incident. That is why I'm no longer racing in PSGL. There was a few things that happened in PSGL that I didn't like personally, but I didn't really mention. And then this happened. Peso did end up reporting this decision, and I felt as if I was unfairly given a penalty and lost the win because of that. I had no idea he had wing damage. There's no way I could have known he had wing damage. They blamed it on the tire wear, which clearly wasn't the case. He would have still lost anyway at that point because of the damage, whether or not I hit him or not. So I don't really know there what they were thinking. They said that they didn't have enough information, but at the same time, they were also giving me a penalty. So all of that, just I wasn't really ready to deal with that, and everything else that I didn't like about PSGL, and just certain things about the way they ran things. I just ended up leaving, just straight up, without sugarcoating it. I just straight up left. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to be happening with the league racing videos moving on for 2021. I don't really think I'm going to be doing any more league races, to be honest, on this game. So yeah, it's a bit of a bittersweet ending to league racing for me on F1 2021, but I do plan on coming back to league racing for 2022 and doing some other leagues. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, that's it for league racing for me because of that situation. Don't really plan on racing in WOR or any other league right now. I just want to focus on my own content and just entertaining you guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.